Hey guys, it's Nancy, the Handy Scanty. Thanks for joining me for another crafty venture, and today we are participating in the Team Tiny Thankful Hop video. So this is the card I'm going to be making today, and it's totally inspired by the thumbnail. So all of those red, beautiful leaves look just like flowers to me hanging from a tree. And so that was my inspiration. So I went with the Technique Junkies autumn framed sentiments stamp set, and there are some beautiful bold scripty sentiments in that one, and I love them, and I'm sure I'll use them before fall is over, especially for Thanksgiving cards. But I ended up using the sentiment that says autumn is a second spring where every leaf is a flower. And that's exactly how I felt about those autumn leaves in that thumbnail, and that's kind of hoping what I'm hoping to relay through this card. So that sentiment came again from Technique Junkies, from their set called Autumn, just simply Autumn. It's a set of 6 it was actually released in 2017. There are some beautiful leaf images in that set as well. So I am stamping with Versamark embossing ink and I'm heat embossing with the Ranger Princess Gold embossing powder. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And as I do this painting process, I will tell you a little bit about that, and then I'm going to jump right into telling you information about the hop. So I've said in the past that anytime you're coloring, painting, whatever medium you're using, it's all about the layers, all about the layers. So I go in, I'm using my Daniel Smith watercolor paints, which were generously gifted to me, along with the paintbrush, which is a silver black velvet. And I have some very generous friends in my life, and I'm very thankful and grateful and blessed to have them. And this is just evidence of that. So thank you, sweet friend. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of doing an undercoat of this blue. I don't know the name of the blue. I don't have the stamp set in front of me, or the paint palette, I'm sorry. But I go back over it several times. I wait for it to dry a little bit, and then I add some more depth and dimension with each layer. And I start in pretty heavy, or pretty concentrated, I guess is the word, with the pigment around the leaves. And then I kind of thin it out and taper it out as the scene goes lower and lower. So while you watch that, because I do the same thing over and over till I get it to the place that I want. This is with Team Tiny, which is that super sweet Facebook group that we have over on Facebook. And it is for crafters who have YouTube channels, and we all have less than 1,000 subscribers. So every month we get together and we do at least one hop. Some months we have 2, sometimes more. It's a little bit crazy, but it's so much crazy fun is what it is. This particular hop is called Team Tiny Thankful Hop, and we always do it by hashtags. So we don't necessarily create a playlist, but if you enter the hashtag Team Tiny Thankful Hop, that hashtag actually generates a playlist for you, and it pulls up everyone that's participating, and then you can just hop along from one video to the next. There are no giveaways on this particular hop, but if you go by every crafter, some of them might be having personal hops on their own individual channels. So make sure that you hop along. And let me encourage you as well to hit that like button before you even get started. I don't know why people give thumbs downs on card videos, crafting videos. If you don't want to watch it, just don't watch it. But a thumbs down is not constructive whatsoever. Is it somebody's individual right to do a thumbs down? Absolutely. You know, I have pretty thick skin. A thumbs down doesn't hurt me at all. I think it's kind of funny. I feel like I've arrived if I've got a thumbs down. But it's hurtful. And if you're going to give a thumbs down, maybe give some constructive criticism. We all are open to that. We all want to learn. We all want to grow. And we don't know what we don't know. But a thumbs down is just like name calling, in my opinion. So anyway, I digress. I'm sorry, bunny trails. I'm just kind of caught up in trying to change all the negativity that's out there right now, because there's so very much. So we need to be kind to each other. And if a thumbs up is something that you can do to be kind, just do it. Just do it. A thumbs down is just not necessary unless you're going to give some constructive criticism, which most people won't take the time to be constructive. They'll just be mean. So I think that our community is kinder than that. We're more generous, we're more sweet, we're more understanding and sympathetic. So let's reflect that in the way that we respond to videos. If you don't want to watch a video, just don't watch it. Okay, I'm going back on my tangent. I'm sorry. Let me get back to the hop. So again, no, there are no sponsored giveaways on this particular hop, but again, stop by every channel, listen to what the crafter is saying, because they may give you information in their monologue, or they may have information down in their description if each individual is doing their own giveaways. And I have done several in recent months, so it's not unheard of that people will do private giveaways themselves. All right, let me get back to the card, guys. Thank you for being patient with me. Obviously I'm working on the leaves now, and I went in with an undercoat of yellow because, you know, in fall, are there true reds? Absolutely. Are most of them kind of rusty orangey reds? In my opinion, they are. So that's why I went in with the yellow. I wanted it to have that undercoat of the yellow so that all of the reds would kind of have that rusty burnt look to them, and the yellow kind of does that. So I am just pulling kind of corally colors and reds and rusts and browns, and I've even got a purple brown that I end up putting in there, and I just love it. I love it. So when you heat emboss, the embossing powder, as it melts, it kind of creates wells or walls, if you will, so that whatever pigment you're using, especially if it's a liquid pigment or a powder pigment, though the pigment kind of drops down into the wells and it stays there unless you move it. So that's what I'm doing with my paintbrush. I'm dropping the color in and then I'm scooching it around. It's really not, it's not difficult. It's not difficult. And I'm just layering, and I scooch it around. I move to another spot until the other spots are dry, because if you do paint in one spot and then you paint right next to it while they're both still wet, those colors could still potentially bleed, even though there's the walls of the heat embossing. So you just want to be mindful of that and try to go I want to say from spot to spot, but that's not what. Let me think. You just want to be mindful and not paint on two wet spots that are right next to each other. So just move around, because it dries pretty quickly, or at least to a point where you can go back in and add more color to it. So again, just dropping it in kind of randomly, scooching it around, and going back and forth with different colors, different tones, different shades. And every now and then, like that one was pretty dark. That was really saturated, really condensed. Is that the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Saturated is good. We'll stick with saturated. It's too saturated. So I give it a second to kind of, you know, soak in and permeate the paper, and then I dab up the excess. And then I can go back in with a different shade, and just simply adding water to your paints thins it down. It changes the color. So if you go in and you don't have a whole lot of water on your paintbrush and you just have the pigment, it's going to be super condensed, saturated, and it might be more than what you want. It can be difficult to take away pigment, but it's really easy to add to it. Now with watercolor, I said can be difficult because with watercolor it's probably the most forgiving in that they're water-based, right? So if you add some water to it and dab it up, you're going to pull up some of that pigment. Now once it dries, it's a little more difficult. So you can see in that upper right corner, and even like to the top, well, they're all on the top, maybe a third of the way in, that cluster is pretty dark as well. And I don't hate it, but if I wanted to remove some of that pigment or add some more to it, this would be a good time to try to do that. So here I feel like I'm done. You can stop or keep going, whatever your design aesthetic is, and whenever you feel like it's done. Sometimes it's more is more, sometimes it's less is more. It just depends. But I did add some splatters. Obviously, you saw me with the blue, which was the same blue that I painted the background with. I just left it pretty heavily saturated in terms of the color, and then I used some of the gold from my Kuretake Starry colors, which are beautiful. It's 6 shades of gold, guys. It's beautiful. And then I just trimmed it down, and that process, the reveal and the trim, are just so satisfying for me. I popped that whole panel up on some of the Amazon foam tape, double-sided foam tape, and I remembered to use the liquid glue so that I could have some wiggle room. I put that inside panel on because it's that red cardstock is kind of hard to write on. Well, it's not hard to write on, but it's hard to read if you don't have like a white or a gold or some other kind of pigmented gel pen that'll stand out in contrast with the red. So I just put the white panel in there with some of the leaves stamped inside in red as well, just to tie the two together. And so this is my final card, guys. Let me know downstairs what you think, and go ahead and hop along with everybody. See all the inspiration out there. Hashtag Team Tiny Thankful Hop. This is Nancy, the Handy Scandy. See you again real soon. Bye.